When Kobe and I decided to create a podcast and coined it the Father-Son Podcast, most would feel this is a gimmick for the podcast, and that couldn't be further from the truth. From the day Kobe was born, I introduced him to video games. This was a way of life for me, as I can remember my father buying me the Odyssey home system, where the cellophane field that clung to the TV determined what game you were playing. Kobe's love for video games grew, as did the bond of a father and a son. When I introduced him to online play, his world opened to new heights. He learned quickly that the incredible gaming experience wasn't just something shared between a father and a son, but there was an entire world that shared his passion for gaming. Gaming was just part of his upbringing, as school or sports was. We always made arrangements that a video game experience was just an arm's length away, even when we went on vacation. As Kobe got older, our experience took us to the road, experiencing events like the Great E3 to more modern events like Summer Game Fest, the Xbox Experience, IGN, and PAX. Kobe graduated from college and now works in the video game industry on the Xbox team. So, as you can see, it was nothing but natural progression to now share our experience and love of the industry through our podcast. Now sit back and enjoy the ride.
And what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Father-Son Gaming Podcast right here on Active Reload Gaming. My name is Kobe, aka Kobe127. That is Kevin, aka Octane699. Dad, how are you doing today?
Not doing too bad. Actually, pretty exciting time around the games. I just loaded up Mafia last week. I'm still running with my Donkey Kong, and you saw the stack of games. My backlog just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and time gets less and less.
No, I hear you on that. I have started Mafia, the Old Country, and working my way through it. Currently 4 hours into the game, and it's a very interesting game, to say the least. I did not expect to shoot a gun 3 hours into the game, and it is very slow to start. The pacing they incorporate is pretty interesting, in my opinion. But, you know, I am enjoying the game for what it is at the moment. But as a Mafia game, I'm a little let down as of right now. It hasn't hit the highs of Mafia 2, even Mafia 3. Like, I think Mafia 3's story is absolutely incredible. But so far, this one is, you know, just, it's a bit predictable at the moment. And
Is it? Do you? I'm sorry. Do you think that it was reflected that way on the pricing? Like, did they know that?
I mean, 100%. I think having Mafia the Old Country be a $50 price tag was the right move for this game. I think it sets expectations correctly. You know, this isn't an expansive open world game. This is a linear story. We knew that going in. But the way I equate the Old Country is right now it definitely has the pacing of The Godfather. Now, The Godfather, obviously we know, or like Goodfellas, incredible movies. And the stories that they're able to tell in those movies are generational. But taking that formula and putting it into a video game, I think is kind of interesting. And I'm questioning if it makes for a good video game. And that's where I'm weighing my options right now is, would I rather just watch this as a movie rather than play it as a game? I'll be curious to hear your thoughts when you actually get into the old country. But I've been talking to people who have been playing it, and it's all kind of the same opinions at the moment. The last thing I'll say is I'm kind of shocked at how much it kind of plays like The Last of Us. It does not play like a traditional Mafia game at all. They completely revamped the entire gameplay system, and it's more kind of generic third-person shooting. It definitely feels more Last of Us 1-ish rather than Last of Us 2. But, I'm enjoying it for what it is.
But one of the things, too, that I don't, and this is what I like about studios, sometimes they have to take a chance. Sometimes it's a home run. Sometimes it's a swing and a miss. So I don't mind them taking a chance on doing something unique with the franchise, especially when they lower the price to reflect that and say, hey, look, we're trying something new. So if it's a swing and a miss, it's a swing and a miss. But I like when studios take a little bit of chance. Before we move any further, I failed to mention I want to welcome our TikTok viewers today. Welcome aboard. It's our first time streaming on TikTok. So for those of you on TikTok that are watching, please go to like us, subscribe. It helps out the channel. We also have all of our other socials. We're on all the socials, so look us up. The only two funky ones are X, i.e. Twitter. It's Active Rel, R-E-L Gaming. And on Twitch, it's Active Rel, R-E-L Gaming. The rest of them are Active Reload Gaming. So TikTok viewers, welcome. We appreciate it.
Yes, welcome. It's been a long time coming. We finally got TikTok streaming approved today, so we're very happy to welcome all the new viewers. But I do want to start transitioning into some housekeeping. So I want to go into a little bit about the schedule coming up, because we are introducing a special this week. So let me throw up the schedule here. August 20th, this Wednesday, we're going to be doing a Gamescom opening night live review / reactions. Tomorrow, Gamescom is officially having its opening night live showcase, and we thought what better way to celebrate the biggest event in games. Gamescom has always been the world's largest gaming showcase and event. So we're going to watch the show tomorrow. We're going to digest our thoughts, and we're going to come back here on Wednesday around 5:30-ish p.m. Pacific time, or maybe 8 o'clock Eastern time. In that time range, we'll be posting it to all of our socials. So if you can make it, please join. We're going to be going over it, and we would like to hear your opinions about it as well. Next Monday, back to our regularly scheduled programming, August 25th, we're going to be going over, has the industry forgotten about older gamers? This is something my dad and I talk about a lot, as he starts to complain about games being way too difficult and whether or not Dark Souls-like games should have a difficulty slider. September 1st is live from PAX West. We are going to be here in Seattle, Washington, going to the Seattle Convention Center to explore the show floor for PAX West. That Monday, the last day of the show, we are going to be streaming live from there. We're going to be giving our thoughts on the show itself, the demos we got to play, the people we got to talk about everything that the event had to offer. And September 8th, we are going to be going over our remake / remasters good for the games industry, with the caveat being we are going to do our first ever video game review on this stream. My dad's going to be reviewing Gears of War Reloaded on the Xbox Series X and potentially the PS5 version, as well as he has that copy coming in. And I am going to be playing / reviewing the Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater remake. And I think this is going to lend to a very interesting conversation if these remasters / remakes are actually good for the games industry. So super excited for that conversation coming up. And Dad, I think you have a very special announcement that you wanted to bring up to people about something coming up in October.
We do. Actually, October 13th, which is a Monday, we will have a professional NASCAR driver, Ryan Ellis, on our podcast live to talk about, he's in the new upcoming NASCAR release. He's going to talk about how it feels to be in a video game, how realistic is it to what he's driving and seeing in the video game, and also just to get to know him, because he's a hardcore gamer as well. So he's just not this NASCAR driver. He's part of our community. He games hardcore. The last I just heard is he's a real big COD player, but he plays other games. We're going to talk about that and get to know him as an individual gamer as well, because I think sometimes these professional athletes and actors, actresses, we all know them for one thing and they get pigeonholed. But when you break it down to our community of a gamer, they're just like us. A lot of them love the game, and that's what we're going to crack open with Ryan Ellis.
And the interesting thing is I've never been able to talk to a professional sports athlete who is in a video game. So we're going to go over the behind the scenes process as well. It's like, what does it really take to be in a sports video game? And, sports games are a huge part of the games industry. That's a fact. So it's going to be interesting to hear what actually goes into the making of these video games. What do you contribute? What does developers come to you? How do you do all that? So I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. But with housekeeping out of the way, Dan, I'm going to pass it to you. We do have our special guest waiting in the lobby to start off this topic today, which is how has live streaming impacted the games industry? So would you like to introduce our guest?
Yes, again, fan favorite. We're bringing DJ Soto from DJ Soto Games back from our first podcast to this. We're going to talk a little bit about how he feels that streaming is impact because it's directly related to him. That's what he does for a living. So we're going to kind of get the perspective, not just from Kobe and I, but somebody that actually is living it in studios, reaching out to him and so forth and so on. So again, without further ado, let's get DJ in here.
What's up, guys? What's up, man? Good to see y'all again.
Welcome, DJ. Welcome back to the podcast. You were very much a fan favorite. We had a lot of people popping off for you in our TikTok comments, YouTube comments. So welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. First off, before we even continue, where can people find you?
SotoGaming.com is my website, and mainly the bulk of my audience is on TikTok. So if you go to TikTok, DJSotoLive, that's where a lot of my content is. I post to YouTube as well, but TikTok's kind of my main hub.
That's awesome. And next question is, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. I just was under the weather for a few days, and so now if my voice is a little raspy, just excuse me. But yeah, getting back into it, get back to the desk. Didn't do any gaming for a couple of days, but looking to get some games rolling again, get some streams going.
You're going to complain about raspy voice? Come on, dude.
Yeah, right. I know it feels raspy right now.
That's funny. Yeah, even though you've been under the weather, has there been any games that you've been playing lately? And mainly, I want to open the floor because you weren't here last week 2 weeks ago to talk about it. But since then, the Battlefield 6 open beta has happened. Has everyone here gotten a chance to play it? I put 25 hours into it, so I would like to start getting opinions because both of you, are extreme Battlefield fans. You guys are the OG, getting in the helicopter, running the conquest flags, owning the battlefield, pun intended. So have you guys gotten a chance to play it, and what are your thoughts of it?
Battlefield used to be one of my favorite games of all time. I think I stopped playing around Battlefield 4, right around there. But I haven't gotten in on Battlefield 6 yet. They have that BIOS secure boot thing you have to do. I just haven't done that yet. Yeah. I was reading about it. Someone said it bricked their computer, so then I was like, whoa, maybe I should wait. But then a friend just told me, like, recently, it's fine. You just got to do this and the other thing. So I got to get in there and secure boot, whatever that means. So
I was going to say, for the audience, are you able to explain what secure boot even is? No,
I was about to say, I don't know what that is. Do you guys know?
Yeah, and I know it generally. And the only reason I know it is I watched a YouTube video where the computer guy had said it does not brick your computer. What it does is there's a security setting within the BIOS. And if you go in and play with that there's something that if your BIOS or your motherboard is not completely up to date, that it can be funky, and it gives the illusion that it's bricked. But I watched this guy on YouTube like unbrick like 4 computers by going in and doing this stuff. So it doesn't really brick it. And to be honest with you, if your computer, they said if your BIOS, which is again, when you're a computer gamer, like I think the BIOS is one of the last things we think about updating. Like we're always updating the graphics card, we're always updating the RAM and all this stuff, but we never think about the BIOS because the BIOS, you have to go into the BIOS settings to go in. It's not a window that pops up on your Windows and says, hey, update me. So I think as gamers, we forget about that BIOS update. So the way that I understood it is if you had your BIOS updated, that it wasn't doing any of this funky bricking.
Yeah. So update the BIOS first is probably the
Correct.
thing to do.
Your motherboard, you have to go into the motherboard BIOS and update it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I knew it had to do with like anti-cheat, which I definitely appreciate, because cheating on these games is getting out of hand on a lot of these experiences. So I appreciate it, but
100%.
I'll have to get in there and figure it out.
But here's the thing with the anti-cheat, that they have to figure out a way, because anybody that plays the Steam Deck, like when we were big Rust players, like you were not allowed to play Rust on the Steam Deck due to that anti-cheat.
Well,
so got to be a way to get around.
Okay.
But the thing with the Steam Deck is the Steam Deck runs on a Linux OS, and Linux inherently doesn't have that feature. So it's going to be, you're going to need an alternative solution for these games in order to allow Linux users, or get a Linux proprietary software out there, but that also causes some complications with how Linux's kernel is even like built. So Linux is made to kind of avoid these things, and it's a miracle that the Steam Deck is even allowing games to run on the OS itself. But so also I want to shout out to the chat. Rampage is here saying hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well today. Hello, Rampage. I hope you're doing well too. Lady says, I'll take it. My laptop won't handle Battlefield then. Yeah, but it's a very demanding game. The graphics are definitely at an all-time high for the Battlefield franchise. So I don't know what specs are on your laptop, but it is going to be a somewhat demanding game. But looping back, so you said you didn't even get a chance to really check out Battlefield 6, DJ.
No, not yet, but I've been watching a lot of streams, and it just looks really good. It looks like a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm excited to get into it, but yeah, I haven't played it yet.
Yeah. Dad, have you gotten a chance to check out Battlefield 6?
Yes, and DJ, let me tell you that it is 100% old school Battlefield. I think Kobe said it best. Was it 3 mashed with
Bad Company 2?
Bad Company 2, but it's the real feel. But I talk to a lot of people, and it's the same beef that you and I always had. Like, it doesn't matter the gameplay that you're in. Everybody treats it like team deathmatch. Like,
right. Well, let me ask you this real quick. So I was watching the streams and it looked good, but remember, like when we played, I guess it was 4, maybe 3, where it just felt like this open world Battlefield experience, and we get in the chopper, the tanks. I just didn't see that type of gameplay. It just seemed like Call of Duty.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I think that is my one critique with the beta at the moment. I can start giving my thoughts. I have completed all the beta challenges. I unlocked all the rewards for the main game, hit level 20, maxed out almost all the weapons. The big critique I have with the game at the moment is the maps are very confined. So there's 4 maps in the beta, and I believe they're launching with 9 maps. You have the streets of Cairo, you have Liberation Peak, which is their open map, but even that to an extent feels closed. Then they added Brooklyn on the second week, and I'm forgetting the name of the other one, but it's more of an urban environment. And I agree. In the beta, there's only one map that even had helicopters and jets, and that was Liberation Peak. But even that for an open world map, it still felt pretty confined. Now, there are moments, especially I think Brooklyn was the worst offender of it feeling like Call of Duty. It was essentially a very small 3-lane map, and the buildings were super, like, it was mainly focused in these buildings. And but the way I look at it is, at the same time, it also felt like Operation Metro. Metro in Battlefield 3, if you remember, that was that super tight corridor map.
Yeah,
and that also had a Call of Duty feel to it. So, like, Battlefield's not exempt from these. But I understand the frustration because there needs to be open maps. And I know they're bringing back Operation Firestorm as a remastered map into Battlefield 6. And they're promising more open maps themselves. And maybe they just weren't ready for the beta. And that could be
I hope so, because that'd be my only hesitation. I was like, well, I could just play Call of Duty or Delta Force. That's like a Battlefield-esque game. But I just remember playing with Octane, and we would just... it would take a while to get to points, and you wouldn't even see the enemies sometimes. It just had that big open feel. And then, like you said, like Metro, it had those moments of just like intense firefights. From the streams, it seems like that was just it, which is fine, but I'm still yearning for the Battlefield days of that big open world experience.
Here's the thing, though, that we just got to remember. It was a beta. So, again, they're not showing all their cards. Maybe they will do that. Maybe that was some feedback. That's what they have betas for, not just to test out their servers, but to get feedback of, OP stuff and things of that nature. So, again, I'm holding out hope because they're hitting it on all cylinders. And I think that it's an outstanding game. And it's bringing me back. You'll never, ever recreate what a game was about. Never. But this is getting as close to it, in my opinion.
It's fair enough.
Well, 100%. I mean, it is leagues ahead of 2042. I think the biggest offender with 2042 was, the maps didn't have destructibility as much as other battlefields. The maps were too open to an extent where these small proxy battles that happen in like a conquest mode just wasn't happening. It felt lifeless. They have taken the formula, like I said, of Bad Code 2, Battlefield 3, and have implemented it into Battlefield 6. And the gunplay feels great. I think the squad play, having the classes back to what they usually mean. They're also closed weapon playlists. The vehicles felt great. The destruction is some of the best destruction I've ever seen in a game. It could have been a little bit more, in my opinion. I was almost hoping for the finals-esque destruction, where they had all the destruction computed in the cloud. But I think the finals is a special case because it was only a small set of players, whereas Battlefield now it's 64 players. So with the computational power that they have, I think this makes sense. And the buildings are enemies at a certain point too, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. When did they introduce destruction? Was that Bad Company?
Bad Company.
Yes. Bad Company. So check this out. That's when I was a fan of Battlefield, and then Bad Company, I became a big fan of Battlefield. Because check this story out. I remember running into a building to escape a tank, and I was like, oh, I'm good. Boom, gaping hole in the side of the wall. The tank was there, and I was like, what? And he just totally destroyed me. And that was the first time that I remember playing a game that had destructible environments. And that blew me away. You could see tanks coming because the trees were toppling over, coming towards you. Yeah, so that's when I became a big Battlefield fan.
And those feelings are definitely in this game.
One of the best scenarios that I ran into, because we've all faced this on COD and everything else, that you're in a 2-story building and you're trying to go up the stairs to the second, and they got it locked down. They're just popping you as you're coming in. Some dude came underneath, blew the ceiling, which is the second floor, and brought it all down and was just popping them from there. And I'm like, that's what it's all about. Because
what did you do, like a C4 thing? Or
yeah, it was just incredible. Incredible. And it opened up this gaping hole, and the whole second floor came down, and you weren't trapped down there to try to get them. So I thought that was incredible.
Yeah. I do want to bring a few things in from chat, all from Rampage. First off, Rampage asked, Octane, where was my invite to play with you on the beta?
My bad, dude. It was a funky time playing it. So,
secondly, Rampage also said, "Happy belated birthday to DJ chat." Happy belated birthday!
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. And Rampage's birthday too.
Oh, happy birthday, Rampage!
Happy Rampage.
And then also, lastly, Rampage said that they were spawn trapping left and right. Felt so dirty yet satisfying. Yeah, there is some really nasty spawn trapping in this game. I also hope they fix some of the glitches of being able to parkour onto buildings that shouldn't be parkoured onto, or bridges. But yeah, I think I am very excited for Battlefield 6. This is going to be a long wait for me, but this gave me the feeling of old school Battlefield that I've been looking for. It's an old school shooter. It's, I always say Beavis and Butthead's not running around in this like Black Ops 6. It is just a straight up military shooter, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Have you guys, not to get too far off the trail here, have you guys played Delta Force before?
So I have not played Delta Force, but it's coming to consoles tomorrow, and I was going to check it out. Really? I remember there was a similar conversation with how Secure Boot was with Battlefield, but with Delta Force, that they were installing something on the kernel level, and I could be wrong. But that's the only reason why I never tried it on PC. I'll just throw it on the Xbox and play with friends.
Because that's a great Battlefield-esque game, and it's free. That's kind of what blows my mind out. And that's like a hidden gem, I think, Delta Force. You guys should check that out.
I can tell you that after playing the beta, I immediately pre-ordered Battlefield. So
Oh wow.
So did
Yeah.
I.
Nice,
I,
nice.
I. I always hate giving EA money. You know, one of my best friends ever, I clown on him all the time for buying Madden every year. But yeah, here I am, no different, just giving EA my money for Battlefield at this point. So I'm just being a hypocrite at the end of the
That's
day.
funny.
But with that, I do want to start transitioning into the topic of the show, which is how has live streaming impacted video games in the industry as a whole? And, you know, you are a professional streamer, DJ. You have well over 100,000 followers on TikTok. You have well over 1 million likes on your page. You've been doing this for a very long time. And, you know, developers are starting to reach out to you, give you keys, starting to say, hey, review our game, play it on stream, do sponsored streams. There's a lot that goes into the live streaming culture in the video game industry. And I'm so curious to start kind of diving deep into this and what that actually means. So I'm going to just start very high level, and I want to hear a high level opinion before I start getting into some more in-depth questions, which is, in your opinion, how has live streaming impacted games?
Yeah, I appreciate this conversation because I do think it's an interesting conversation that I don't think gets talked about a lot. So I think it's amazing that this is the topic of the podcast. And particularly speaking, like from my point of view, like I would consider myself like a small to medium streamer. I'm starting to kind of break into medium sized numbers, but I still don't think I'm there yet. And even at my level, I'm influencing. It's not an exaggeration to say thousands of dollars are being influenced by the games I play. People buy them. Certainly tens of thousands of dollars if you include virtual reality and people buying VR headsets. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it's in like multi 10,000s. It'd probably be an exaggeration to say hundreds of thousands, but it's a lot of money, even at my small level, to influence in the gaming industry. So if you think of me at this level, imagine like medium and large streamers, what kind of money they're producing, influencing, games that people might not have played, but one popular streamer starts playing it, and then boom, that game explodes, and they're making millions of dollars. So I think. At least I've seen a little bit of hate with streamers. Oh, streamers are ruining the industry. I don't know why. I don't hear the why of that, but I do hear a little bit of angst that streamers are kind of ruining gaming. But I'm biased. I'm a streamer. I love to stream, and I see the devs reaching out, even at my level. Again, a lot of devs with PAX coming up. I'm trying to get to PAX with you guys, if possible. Tons of emails coming in. Could come visit our booth. Do a thing on our game. And so I just think that it's interesting to see the influence that we have as streamers on the industry, where developers are going to reach out, and the good, bad, and the ugly. Like I've seen some games get postponed or canceled. Well, not canceled maybe, but like what was that one game that was just coming out? Mind's Eye.
Mind's Eye.
Yeah, for former GTA devs, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong on the facts, but I think streamers were streaming that. And some of those streams were cut off. Their game was cut off midstream.
Yes.
I mean, think of that influence that they have, where someone wasn't just like, just leave him be. They're like, cut the stream off, or not cut the stream off, cut the game off. Don't give him access anymore. So yeah, at a bird's eye view, I think there's a lot of influence. I have some numbers pulled up here from Grand View Research, where the market size of live streaming is, in 2023 was $87 billion. And in 2030, it's looking to be $345 billion just for live streaming, which is crazy. And I think that's something that, let's say in the U.S. culture, people don't realize. We talk about the big movie release for like Avatar. We talk about this television release and the money surrounding that. But games are going to skunk all those. Like, what's GTA 6 going to make on release? Yeah. It's going to skunk all these records. And so the gaming industry doesn't get their like press, right? The, box office numbers that the movies get. But the numbers, from what I understand, are head and shoulders above, even what movies make. So, yeah, you got the market size. You got the gaming streaming markets is growing. The audience scale, 1 billion gaming live stream viewers in 2025. That's 1 billion live stream viewers. That's crazy.
That's an astronomical number.
You got esports. You got watch time. Just for quarter 2 of 2025 is 29.6 billion. Like, these numbers are like crazy, millions and billions. They're just, way up there. And so, that's kind of the bird's eye view for me. I see the influence at a small to medium level, and I certainly see it at a large level. Ninja's getting paid, who knows, like $1 million to play Apex Legends, and then that becomes a 50 million player game. Rocket League sold 5 million copies after some Twitch exposure. So yeah, I think it's pretty significant.
When you talk about 1 million and then 1 billion viewers, I want to put 1 million to 1 billion in perspective. I've just done this before, and this is mind blowing. And anybody out there wants to fact check me, go do it. How many days is 1 million seconds? Just a guess.
Man, I'm not a math guy.
Okay, 11. I think it's 11 and a half days is 1 million seconds.
Okay.
How many days is 1 billion seconds?
1 year.
31 years.
I'm not even close.
Not even close. So the only reason I give that analogy is when you talk that there's 1 billion viewers, like I need you to really, like, I don't think we normally wrap our head, or we hear billion thrown around all the time. And I like to equate that back down to seconds. 1 million seconds is 11. I think it's 11 and a half days. 1 billion seconds is 31 years. So imagine how many viewers, when 1 billion viewers of streaming gaming is out there. It's massive. It's bigger than you really think that is.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I, not to get off on another rabbit trail, but that's why it's like interesting to me in U.S. media that doesn't get the light of day. That should be like headlines. You know what I mean? Great. Superman had a great big box office weekend, great movie, but no one's talking about, Schedule One or these, games that are just popping off for, millions of dollars. So yeah, I think it's interesting. And yeah, the numbers are mind blowing. Like when we talk about billions of dollars, billions of views, it's like, you're just on in a whole other realm.
And I mean, it's also something to talk about where you're seeing these $1 million deals go to individual platforms / streamers to be exclusive to a Twitch, to, I think, Kick is another one at a certain point, Mixer when they were around as well.
Well, I think, and again, this is more question, me coming from the marketing background, I think that game studios are starting to put that into their marketing. Like it is part of their marketing budget.
100%.
When I give you the game as a studio DJ, like they're looking at that as part of the marketing. Like I think the marketing has shifted because I think you see less and less, even back to Gears of War, not, all know that. Even back to that where you would see mainstream television ads with, the Gears 1 ads going off. Now I think that's tapered and they're giving that in individual marketing to streamers like yourself.
Yeah. I don't think they see a huge reason to have advertisements anymore in a traditional sense. Their advertisements are these sponsored streams.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah,
I mean, and you think of like Twitch, like how many, the view hours I have somewhere around here on Twitch, it's significant, and just to get on that front page of Twitch, the top stream games, that's huge, man. It moves copies, it moves numbers. Again, at my level, people are buying games that I'm playing, and I know that they tell me, you know what I mean? And so I think, 2 or 3 times greater than my size, I can't imagine, the numbers they're putting in.
In fact, if correct my memory if I'm wrong, when you were really heavy into the VR, in fact, didn't you meet with Meta at some point saying, look, I'm selling all these VR headsets. Like there should be some type of
oh yeah. Cause I think that was the first time where I sat down and realized, cause I know that the term influencer gets kind of like a negative connotation around it, but then I saw the numbers. I kind of sat down. I was like, wait a minute. Cause I was trying to get a sponsorship from Meta about a podcast or a project we were working on. And I met with one of their leaders and I was, casting some vision. They're like, well, it seems like a little high of a number. And then I had it prepared because I had done some math. I was like, well, listen, do you know how many headsets that I've sold minimum? Like $50,000 worth of headsets. I couldn't, scientifically show them, but I was like telling them about my influence over the years, being on some major outlets for virtual reality. And not just the headsets, which is a huge amount of money, but also the ecosystem of the games that people buy. How much was that worth? And so I was like, this is like what you're going to sponsor is a fraction of what I've influenced for the meta market. And they're like, oh, wrote the check. So yeah, they got the perspective there.
Yeah. And so kind of going along that, I want to ask, how do you think streaming changed how people find new games? Because it is hard for a game to get to that front page of Twitch. So how, like for example, Schedule One, Dale and Dawson, Lethal Company, like how did streaming, because of streaming, those games popped off, but why is streaming changing how people find new games rather than going to watch like a traditional review from a bigger outlet?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that there's kind of like three things, in my opinion, and you guys can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, that really influence people's purchasing. I think one is Steam reviews. That's huge. Like if you go there and you see a review overwhelmingly positive, you're probably going to buy the game. I think that's probably going to be priority getting that on there. But what works in tandem with that is a live stream, because if you are live streaming a particular game and, you mentioned some of these indie games, and I think that's when, those really explode because they're the ones that you would never have found the game before that. Like Lethal Company, I doubt would have gotten the exposure that it did unless it was live streamed. And then that kind of connected to Steam reviews being overwhelmingly positive. So I do think there's a net effect happening there when it comes to live stream. But sorry, I got off track. What was the original question again? I was kind of thinking about
Which
Steam.
is like, how has streaming changed how people find new games rather than just like watching traditional reviews from outlets? Like, why has streaming been such a big impact compared to that?
So let me tell you the story. When my family and I we traveled in a travel trailer, we were traveling through San Francisco, and IGN, I think they're based in San Francisco. I believe it was IGN.
Yeah.
Had like an open office day where you can go take a tour, all that stuff. And it was amazing. IGN's office were really cool. And they kind of did like a little panel of different things, different journalists from IGN. And what was interesting is after the panel, and we were kind of like milling about talking with each other, one of the guys kind of said in passing, and I don't remember the exact words, so forgive me for the specificity. He said something like, well, people are watching streamers anyway. It was kind of in passing, like IGN wasn't the source anymore. It was going to be the streamers are the source. So that comment kind of stuck with me a bit, that you're right. People aren't going to go to IGN. They may or may not. I think they're going to go watch Cash. What's that streamer's name?
Queso.
Queso. Yeah, I keep calling him Cash. Like they're going to go watch Queso. And so I think that, like for me in particularly, like I'll go to Twitch, see what games are popping. Battlefield 6, go watch it. Oh, what's this indie game? And so that's like my source. Like I'll go to Twitch, and I think that is an indicator, from the IGN comment to like my personal habits. I think it just kind of meshes and represents that people look for games via, live streamers. I think that's like the key.
I think you're right. And again, for those of you, especially on TikTok, new, go to our Discord, Active Reload Gaming Discord. But in the Discord there, one of the things, if you're following through there, I've been in this horror game kick, and I've talked about it before. Our Discord's up on the top of the screen now, and people were giving me great, recommendations. And the first thing I do is I either get on YouTube or get on Twitch, and I search it, because that's what's going to make me say, that's my type of game, or you know what, that's really not my type of game. And I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars it's influenced me buying stuff that I would have never in a million years picked up. But that's my go-to when I don't know, if it's not a Battlefield or a COD or a Gears, and I've never heard of it. My first go-to is either Twitch. I usually start with YouTube to see a trailer, and then I go to Twitch for the gameplay.
Yeah.
But that's influenced a good portion, at least 80% of my buying anymore, because there's so many great games out there that most people don't hear about. And this is the way that it's the conduit to me hearing or seeing or buying. So 100% agree.
Yeah. And Kobe, I think that people get connected to like certain personalities or certain type of streamers. So
Yeah.
some streamers might be sim streamers, others might be FPS shooters, and so the trust that a lot of these streamers have built is really high with their community. And so I think that speaks volumes, and I think that's what moves copies of games these days. I personally think streaming and then how that connects to Steam reviews is what sells games, in my opinion.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, you could take it from the professional athlete on down that, brands get them to wear their sneakers and wear their clothes and carry their purses and do this for the pure fact that they know if they see it, if the public sees it or a fan sees it, they're going to go buy it. That's just, and I'm not saying that everybody's at the level of a big thing, a big star like that, but I don't care how far down the ladder you go. At some point, they will want to buy, play, wear whatever you're wearing.
And the
Which
funny
I
thing,
bring to anybody that wants to buy the Active Reload gaming shirt. You can go to activereloadgaming.com, buy it.
well, and that's a perfect segue. Let me tell you about our website through this short ad. Got games you don't play anymore? Turn that collection into cash at activereloadgaming.com. It's fast, it's easy, and you get paid quick. Or if you are looking to buy, check us out on eBay or scroll through our games by console. Find us at activereloadgaming.com. And we are back. The funny thing I wanted to say is I am the complete opposite. Like when I want to purchase a new game, I don't watch streams, or I go to my favorite podcasters who do game reviews and I trust their opinions. So like I just listen to long form content. I have people explain to me. Like I rarely watch gameplay videos. Like I'll watch gameplay trailers, but streams I'm just like not as tuned into anymore. It's something that I fell out of. I think it's because it's a time commitment, and I just don't find myself having the time to throw on the stream, or I'll go watch like maybe a 2-minute gameplay clip on a Steam or something. I'm like, oh, that's it. Like I'll go buy the game then.
But as a flash to our, upcoming podcast of older gamers, I need to see that, because I don't know, like your explanation of a game still doesn't give me the visual of how hard is it, how complex is it, and so forth. So as an older gamer, I rely on that, because I'm not going to spend, I don't care if it's $40 or $100, I'm not going to spend the money on it for something that I feel I just won't be able to play, even though I may want to without visually seeing it.
Yeah. Also, there's so many games out, and you think of 2024 and 2025, all the releases coming out. Like I'm definitely all over YouTube and Twitch, just checking everything out because there's just so many. Yeah. And I'll usually switch between streams to see that is the gameplay kind of consistent wherever they're at. Because somebody might be early game, somebody might be late game. So yeah, I'm definitely all over YouTube and Twitch.
Yeah, I totally hear that. And I do want to start moving into other questions. But before we do, I want to say, chat, let us know how you think live streaming has impacted video games overall. I want to move on, and I want to ask, because we kind of talked about this before, and I don't know if there's sales figures out there, but how do day one live streams affect sales or hype of a video game?
I don't know any hardcore numbers about day one sales, but I imagine they would be, just based on like when you go to Twitch and when you click on high to low viewers, and if a game is hot off the press, particularly a AAA game, it's definitely going to be at the top. So Battlefield 6 is going to be at the top, and just those eyeballs alone, hundreds of thousands, actually that's pretty low. The millions of viewers that are watching that, I think that definitely generates sales. I don't know the numbers or the metrics behind it, but just watching viewership, it is a good indicator in my opinion.
Yeah, and I do want to ask, thinking of like you said like bigger games are always going to be at the forefront of these things. Do you think streams also help indie games more than big ones nowadays? Because obviously we saw Mind's Eye happen, and live streams hurt that game immensely. Also in the chat, Scott Lilly says it's their first time. Hello, welcome to the Active Reload Gaming podcast. So yeah, obviously Mind's Eye was immensely affected because of what the live stream shows and the state of that game. But how has streams helped indie games more than big ones?
Yeah, I think it's huge for indie games. They can get lost. Maybe they don't have the marketing budget like EA or Blizzard. Their marketing is going to be a streamer finding their game and streaming it. So, I pulled up some like Rocket League, for instance, after some Twitch exposure went to 12 million players and 5 million copies sold. So it's crazy like what like one stream can do. And it's let's see, what's another one? Oh, Among Us. Among Us had a resurgence via Twitch and YouTube, and that's something that I've seen as well. This is kind of another little side thing, like older games that maybe didn't get their day in the sun. If they get streamed, people will watch those and pick it up. And so I've even I can't remember the name, but I remember watching a TikTok of a dev who was like, "What the heck's going on with my game? People aren't buying it." And he linked it to a streamer, which completely makes sense. That a streamer found your game, maybe you didn't have the marketing budget, and it just a ton of people bought it. So yeah, things like Rocket League, Among Us. Schedule One was a big one. That was like the number one game on Steam, and people were streaming the heck out of that one, and that sold a zillion copies as well. So, I think it's a really good thing for indie developers that people stream their game, and I think it's really done just a powerful effect. And I think it helps gamers too, because a lot of us don't have time to find the latest and greatest, but if you are connected, let's say, with a variety streamer who's playing all these different games, like, oh, I didn't even know that existed. And that's true. Like when I play games recently, they're like, I didn't know this game existed, I'm gonna go get it right now. So I think that's some of the influence that you see.
Isn't it that, and again, I haven't looked at the statistics, but isn't still in the top 5 GTA 5 still one of the top games?
Yeah.
So it doesn't always have to be a brand new game. I mean, your GTA 5's been out for how long? 20 years? It's still one of the number one streamed games.
Yeah, and I think it's the role play, the 5M, that creates like a role play modded version of it. And yeah, that's crazy that it's 10 years old and usually on the top 5, top 3.
Sure.
I do want to pull in a couple things from chat. Lady has a story about you, DJ, which is, Lady said, I watched DJ about 6 months or more. I bought a laptop just to play Red Dead Redemption, now Dune, and Witcher, and Peak, and so much more. You made it look so much fun, and they bought it, a setup just to play. And also Rampage said, ships at sea, DJ, how many people have gotten it since we discovered that gem?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I remember a lady talking about buying a computer just for Red Dead because she was watching me stream it. Every game we stream, it seems like people are like, I'm going to get this one. So Ships at Sea was another one. And that's what I was talking about. Just the little small to medium streamer that I am, we have evidence in the chat of people being affected by that and putting some dollars into gaming. So I pulled up a couple of other things real quick about Phasmophobia. That game was an early access horror game, huge growth from streamer reaction. Fall Guys, Valheim. So those are some of these games that when it got some streamer energy behind it, it really generated or kind of pushed them to the forefront. So yeah, it's done a lot of good things, I think.
Let me just add to Lady. Buying a laptop to jump in for Red Dead, great time to jump in with Red Dead. So
yeah,
you couldn't go wrong getting into the gaming industry, jumping into Red Dead. That's
right. Red Dead's peak.
Red Dead 2 is one of the greatest stories ever told in media, period, across books, movies, video games, you name it. It's amazing. But
I think it's sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to move into the next thing, but quickly say what you were going to say.
Oh, I was going to say that's Red Dead is like a lot of number one on the top 10 lists that I see people give. Red Dead is always near the top, or if not number one.
So. 100%. But I do want to move into kind of the game design development of these games. And I think if we were to draw a Venn diagram about the games that really pop up on stream, I think we're going to see a lot of intersectionality between it. So I want to first ask, do you think games are now designed with streamers in mind? And I think if we start to look at a lot of these indie games and bigger titles that you mentioned still pop up on stream, I think we're going to start to see an intersection between the features that these games have and what really makes them pop off. But before I give my answer, I would like to hear your opinion. Do you think that games are designed with streamers in mind at the moment? And do you think these games have an intersection of features that really make it fun to watch?
Yeah, I think that I don't know that all developers are have that in mind, but some do, and that makes it so much easier to stream. And it just depends on the game, but like a streamer cam, like in VR, one of the popular games that I would see hundreds of viewer in was a flight sim game called VTOL VR, and they had a streamer cam, and just that I just knew was engaging to the audience rather than just my head moving around. I got different angles of the plane, and so when you see that streamer cam or when you see that design, it really helps in the game as well. And so I do think some, I mean, not all, but I do think some definitely have that in mind. Perhaps they, put some streamer moments in there as far as like maybe this will do well, particularly at the beginning of a game, because that's where like a streamer is going to get hooked, right, and continue to play the game. And so, yeah, I do think so at a bird's eye view, but I don't know that many have that in their brain. And I theorize though that that's changing rapidly. Like I think more are going to be thinking about the streamer effect.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I want to talk about when I was saying the intersectionality of features is I think the one thing that I have been seeing a lot of in terms of the games that pop off in the streaming world is the social aspect of video games. And I think a lot of these games are built with social features in mind. We're going to look at Lethal Company, for example, Dale Dawson. Let's look at Peak. We're going to do that. And then let's think of Content Warning.
Okay. Yeah.
And Phasmophobia. All those games have some kind of social interaction in mind. It's like the social deduction board games almost, where like people love to play, there's the Coups of the World, Secret Hitler. There's board games like this or like Mafia where you're trying to deduce something. And even Among Us, like we can go back, that popped off because of how funny it was to watch people messing with one another. And I think that is kind of the features that a lot of these developers are starting to think of is the social aspect makes just for general clips. Like you don't have to, I'm going to use farm clips in quotes. Like it's just the natural abundance of just natural interactions and connections that have been really making these games pop off in some way. And I'm curious to think if you think that is the intersectionality between it all.
Oh yeah, that's interesting because I think you'd made it more specific. I was thinking like in general terms, like streamer cams or some type of stream elements for like Death Stranding or something like that. But when you talk about like these I don't know if party games is the right term, but yeah, like you mentioned Peak, Lethal Company, what's that repo game? There's all these different games that go crazy on short form video. Like those are really popular on like TikTok. And so I do think that when you look at it from that perspective, developers that develop that type of game do have that in mind, and it creates a lot of great content because of the hilarious nature of the game of like a repo or Lethal Company. Peak is one. And so I do think devs that design that are really going to have a net effect because people are going to just create a ton of clips. That's going to be spread to millions of people, millions of views, and people are going to buy those games. And those games don't tend to be very economical, 10, $15 at most. So I do think that's accurate in what you're saying.
I have the flip-flop opinion of that. I think, and again, maybe it's an insight again to the older gamers coming up, but I think the Souls-like games that are so hard drive the streams because people get so frustrated of how to get by a boss, how to get through this, that they have to tune in to see how the professional gamer is getting past that. So I think when you don't put any of these, levels of difficulty in it, that is driving more streaming because people can't get by it and everybody wants to see how to get by this. So
another, yeah, another thing too that I think is popular on streams is these like cinematic or well-known moments that people talk about in video games. So one of my largest streams was ending Red Dead. So I was doing a playthrough of Red Dead, and I would have many views or no views or very few views or whatever. It was just kind of like up and down, nothing too crazy. When I got to that last chapter, when I got to the ending, boom, because people wanted to be there to watch my reaction to all that was happening. So those are also kind of special moments in gaming, whatever that might be. I don't know if it's the Elden Ring final boss or I'm trying to think of another game where it's just people were.
I was like Gears of War 3. Whenever people play that, they're going to tune in to a very specific moment of Gears 3.
Right. Your viewers are just going to skyrocket because the emotional impact that they had at that moment, they want to see your emotional impact. And so there's moments like those, and I know that's probably not what you're asking, but it just kind of sparked a thought in my mind, at least.
And I want to reply to my dad. I don't think. I see where you're coming from, but I don't think that is what's driving the most amount of viewers to streams nowadays. Now, granted, I think you're seeing a lot of viewers go to beating these Souls games in weird ways. For example, I see this woman streamer who beat Dark Souls entirely on like a Dance Dance Revolution board, or someone is using their goldfish to control Dark Souls, and they have this whole UI map where if they go to a certain quadrant of the fishbowl, they're doing inputs. So, I mean, I think you are right. Some people are going to these streams to see the hard bosses, but I really think in today's current landscape, the social aspect games, because of how funny it is to watch, for example, in Lethal Company, seeing your buddy die in the most ridiculous way and seeing their body ragged all over it really goes back to, and I'll open this to both you, and you may agree or disagree, but the reason why Halo 3 ever kept going was that social custom game aspect. Like, you cannot recreate those moments, and I think these social games that are happening is recreating those moments that we lived back then, that you can't recreate it day to day.
Yeah, it's probably not like one or the other. It's probably both, to be honest, in my mind. Because I do think we all have different types of like flavors of ice cream that we like. So like the hardcore Souls, like, they're going to be, that community is going to be digging that. I don't like Tarkov at all. I mean, I appreciate the game. I think it's an amazing game, and I appreciate it, and I won't touch it because it's so, but there's a huge Tarkov community that's just going to watch that hardcore extraction shooter. Then you have the people that are going to watch the Dawson. So it's probably not mutually exclusive. It's probably going to encapsulate, all aspects of it.
And the thing I just want to bring up, just since we're kind of talking and round this out, because as those that follow me as well, I'm also into the retro gaming. I've been really getting into the streamers doing speed runs of old games.
Oh yeah, retro gaming. That's a thing.
I've been watching, a guy speed run Mario Brothers. Like, it's just fun to me to watch, but that's a big thing right now. When we were out at SoCal, Kobe and I, they had the Tetris championship there. Like, watching people play these old games is just mind-boggling. I got really caught up in watching, because I can never go that fast as you get older, but I was watching somebody do a Guitar Hero. Like, I'm like, it's impossible. I thought it was AI generated. I don't know how they were doing it.
Yeah,
again, it's just nuts the way they do it. But the whole streaming is, like you just said, that's what sparked it. Is it's a flavor for everybody. It's a different channel for everybody. And where I enjoy it is I'm going to watch games I didn't see. I'm going to watch games I didn't beat. And now I'm going to relive the retro games and the speed run. So it really is a flavor for everybody.
I saw someone streaming Double Dribble from the original NES. Do you remember that one?
Absolutely.
I was like, what? I was like, Double Dribble? Yeah, I was watching that stream. That was nostalgic.
So yes. I want to get into think about all this. Is I want to get into the psychology of a viewer, which is I want to ask a question: what makes a game fun to watch and not just play?
Sorry, my computer lagged out there for a second. Did you say what makes a game fun to watch?
Yeah, and not just play.
And not just play. So number one, I think, is what we were just talking about, the impromptu player interaction. So whether it's Peak, Lethal Company, those crazy moments, but also, like, why is Grand Theft Auto still like on the top, streams on Twitch? It's because of role play, the 5M version. And so I think what makes a game fun to watch is that interaction with other players that's unscripted. And I think that's, for me, why it's fun to watch, because it's not that I don't enjoy watching episodes of The Office or 24 or Breaking Bad, but I know it's going to happen. It's scripted, it's planned, it's whatever. I love things like 5M, GTA, because it's not scripted, and the stories and narratives and hilariousness that comes from those interactions, I think, is why GTA is number one, because it's just fun to watch. We don't know what's going to happen. Is there going to be a shootout? Is there going to be a police chase? What's going to happen at the end of the police chase? It's not scripted. The streamer doesn't know how it's going to end. And so I think that's one of the number one reasons people watch, or what makes a game fun to watch, in my opinion. And I think there's other ones, like people, wanting to learn from those who are really skilled at, let's say, a Souls game, like Octane was talking about. Maybe strategy games. I know a gal who streams on TikTok, and she does like Age of Empires, like the old school version of it, and she's like really good at it. And so people are going to watch that. So I think there's a couple things to think about. One, I guess it just depends on what you like to watch, what makes it fun to watch. But I think the ones that rise to the top are those player-to-player interactions. And you see that on TikTok videos too.
Yeah, I think it's more so not the game, but the streamer that makes me want to watch it. Because let's just use Grand Theft Auto. You could go on there, and at any given time, there's 30 or 40 live streams of Grand Theft Auto. I'm picking it because of the streamer. I'm entertained by the streamer. That's what's going to make the difference. And I know it sounds a play on words, but watching versus watching. Like I'll tune in to see something quick, like a Souls, like to see how to get over it, and I'm out. But if there's something that I enjoy, because I have my favorites, I have my Twitch favorites that I look in their live, and there was a couple back when we were big in Sea of Thieves that we used to tune in and watch how they handle. But I enjoyed the individual. That's what sucks me into watching something. Is going to be the streamer themselves. They're entertaining to me.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it, because we like connect with that personality or the insight. Because some streamers are not even necessarily entertaining; they just are very insightful and skilled at the game and break it down. Some are more like entertaining and putting on a show. But so you have all different types of styles of streamers, and that's why I know we're not talking about getting into streaming, but that's why I think the streaming market is still not done, because there's so many styles to kind of get into, so many different games to kind of be a part of. I agree with that. I think that we got to get connected with the streamer personality. I think that's huge.
And Scott Lilly in the chat says, I think it is fun just to interact with the other people in chat.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. So what makes a game fun to watch? It might be the game themselves. It might be the player interaction within the game. It might be the streamer. But then really there's the chat. The chat interacting with the streamer interacting with the chat interacting with themselves. And one thing that I try to do often is, like, that old school, like pick a path, those books where you would diverge different stories. Oftentimes chat's picking the direction, and I think that makes a huge influence on making a game fun to watch. Oh, I just made him go left and not right down this path, and we're going to find out what it is. Oh, we're going to go on a car chase now because the chat said so, right? So I think that's a huge part of making the game fun to watch.
And in the chat, Michael Alois says, the streamer 100% makes the live stream worth watching. They are a character playing a character, and it can be comedic or informative based on viewer preference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yep. 100% agree. I think the streamer can make or break the game. I do think, kind of think about, like you were saying, the books of Choosing Your Own Adventure. A lot of these Choose Your Own Adventure games now have Twitch integration where, Twitch Plays has been something that has been really popping off, where you're seeing a lot of the modder community as well build mods for these games to have direct input to what you do, which I think is super interesting. I do have a couple questions left before we start winding down for the rest of the podcast. And the next question I want to ask is, DJ, have you ever seen a game change direction because of streaming? Has a lot of abundance of live streaming ever changed a game's direction?
I can't think of. I had some notes on that where games had changed the direction. I think that's a huge part of it, because it's not even just the beta. Because some people don't have access to the game, maybe a streamer does, and then watching the streamer play the game, you'll see the people react to that. And so, with the reaction of the viewers and then the streamer themselves, I do believe devs have taken that back and changed their games. I had a note about some of these. It might take me a minute to go find it, but I do think that's a part at at a general level. But at a specific level, it might have to. I think my notes are getting frozen up here on my computer, where that has changed. But I think that's definitely a thing. I just don't have a specific example for it. And even even at my level, I'm giving devs notes. Just say, hey, for whatever it's worth, this is broken. You got to take this out of the game. This doesn't work. And so I think particularly indie devs really eat that up. They're like, oh, thank you, very much for that input.
I just have a quick question with that, and I know it's individualistic here. So, but do you ever feel compelled to spin it a little bit in more of a positive because they are giving it to you for free or they are sponsoring a stream? Or do you really feel, hey, it's black and white for me, I'm going to tell it as it is. If it stinks, it stinks? Because I know there's people out there that do it both ways.
Yeah, no, I think for me, I try to be positive about it, but that doesn't mean we wouldn't just be completely honest. And I was playing a VR game and it started out great and then it got buggy. And I was like, chat, this game's bugged out. I think we're going to have to wrap it up. I'm just going to be honest with you. Too many bugs. And so I was trying to be positive about it. And the guts of the game was really good. It was like a VR survival game on Mars, but it was just broken. And so, yeah, I don't think... for me in particularly, and the streamers that I watch would just tell it like it is. Hey, this thing's bugged out. I love this. Hate this about the game. We're playing Ships at Sea, and people ask me about it. I was like, fantastic game. Has some stupid bugs to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that's important too, because really the trust that you have with the audience is worth more than anything. Sure. That's really one of them, if not the most important thing for a streamer, is the trust that you have with your community. And if they feel like you're BSing, or if you're not telling the truth about a game, or if they feel like, oh, he got paid, and you'll see that in some comments. Did he get paid? He's really overly excited about this game that isn't very good. Not for me, but for other streamers. So I think it's important. Tell like it is. And just be honest.
There's a saying I say in my business life, and I just again said it today. My reputation's more important than your money. And I
exactly.
When you break it down, that's what you're really saying.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. I think we were talking about, because my notes were coming up here, but a couple of games that really were influenced by streamer impact, like No Man's Sky, and that had a rough launch. Remember back in the day. It was one of the worst launches, but a terrible launch. And then that's like a redemption story in and of itself. You know what I mean? Even people now with their latest update, we're like, okay, we forgive you. Thank you. Yeah. For all these things you've done for No Man's Sky. Escape from Tarkov is one. I know Sea of Thieves have done some updates based on streamer feedback, and so major games. Not just the small indie ones, but
even Cyberpunk.
Yes. Oh yeah, Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Huge.
And even with Battlefield 6 in the beta, because of the streams and the bugs people were discovering and some of the gameplay decisions and designs, you're seeing EA and Battlefield Studios be like, okay, we're going to take some of the footage that we saw into consideration and actually deploy changes to actually fix some of these concerns that we're seeing from streamers. I want to pull in one thing from the chat. I'm going to ask one last question then to you. Scott Lilly says, I also like that some of the games make you feel right in the games, like Railroader and Ships at Sea. It make me feel like I am in.
Yeah, that's a key word that I try not to overuse, but immersion. Like when you go back to your question, what makes a game fun to watch? Feeling like you're immersed in the game, that you're there, that you're that character, that you're experiencing it in real time. Immersion's huge. So like what Scott said, he feels like he's there and things are happening and it feels real. So yeah, it's powerful.
And I want to start looking to the road ahead. And I'm gonna ask a very high level question, and you can answer this however you want. But what do you think is one trend in streaming that will matter the most in the next 5 years when it comes to video games?
Ooh, good question. A trend in streaming that will matter most. And that's going to be good. I think that for better or for worse, we're going to see more of those friend party games, because I do think they pop off when a stream comes, and even if they just get that initial virality and people buy it, it's probably lucrative. I don't know the numbers behind that, but I can imagine, you've created a short form kind of like party game, and it's getting streamed because streamers are looking for new games to stream. Not all. Some are kind of locked into their modality, whether it's Fortnite or GTA RP, but some are kind of looking for some new streams to stream, right? And that's what people are looking for. And so I think we're going to see a lot of that. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or bad thing. I guess it just is what it is. And so, yeah, in my mind, I think that's going to be part of it. Other than that, I think that's the only thing that I can think of as far as the evolution of streaming in the coming years. I do think, and this is kind of maybe a side thing, but also connected. Like VR needs a revolution. It needs to be revitalized, because some of the best gaming I've ever experienced has been some VR moments, not necessarily the VR game, but some moments in VR are just like, what the heck was that all about? Yeah. And so I feel like, VR could really go to another level with streaming. Maybe that could be a thing in theory to revitalize the VR industry, is a lot of VR streaming, but I don't know if we'll see that or not. It's more of a thought.
I do want to have that as a future topic on this podcast with you, because I feel like VR is still in the 1980s cell phone era, where it's still
frustrating.
It's in its infantile stage, but we can talk about that at a later time, because I do have a lot of opinions about VR. And with that, I'm going to say one more thing from chat. Cherry Tomato Boy says, Kobe and Kevin, the GOAT, no cap.
Nice. I agree with that one.
Thank you so much. With that, I would like to start closing the show. DJ, once again, thank you so much for coming back and breaking down how has live streaming impacted video games overall. I think this was a very deep and insightful conversation. I think we got a lot of good answers out there, and I think we were able to kind of break it down while also looking forward to the future. With that, I do want to ask, where can people find you? Plug all your socials. Let's just do that one more time to remind people where you're at.
Yeah, SotoGaming.com, DJSotoLive on TikTok. Feel free to check me out there. It's where I stream pretty much every day. So we'll see you in the live streams.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for everyone, to the TikTok people, welcome. We appreciate you. I just want to point out that we did get a couple top likers or top contributors on the stream, Rampage and Scott Yu. They were the top likers for the TikTok. So appreciate you coming into the stream and supporting us. Once again, we stream here every Monday at 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock Eastern time. You can find us on all our socials right here, but I will say Instagram is Active Reload Gaming, YouTube is Active Reload Gaming, Twitch and X/Twitter are the caveats. They are Active Rel, REL Gaming, and then TikTok is also Active Reload Gaming as well. Please join our Discord. We encourage everyone to come and join our community. We have a very active community in there, and we're always chatting away. With that being said, Dad, do you have anything else to say to the chat before we fully close this?
Yeah, I just, again, we always do it Monday nights. I say 7 p.m. Eastern first. He always says 4 Pacific. But don't forget, Wednesday, we have a special podcast. We don't normally do this, but we just think because it's Gamescom that we need to do it. Tuesday, they're doing the showcase. It's going to give Kobe and I, the day to digest what it was. And Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, we're just going to have a short 45-minute recap of what we think is the showcase did and where it's going. So, and I appreciate everybody. Again, I can't stress enough, subscribe, send it to your friends. This is what keeps us going, and I hope to see DJ in PAX, because we need to reunite, man. We haven't seen each other physically in quite some time.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
It would be great to spend a weekend.
It's been a long time since I've seen you in person. I think the last time I saw you was 2018 at E3.
E3 in LA, right? We got some burgers or something.
Yep, burgers, and then outside there was a hostage situation with the helicopters surrounding the
GTA.
building. Yeah, it was GTA in real life. It was a crazy experience. But with that, I thank everyone for tuning in to the live stream, and we will see you on Wednesday and next Monday as well. With that, see everyone later.
Thank you, guys.